It's a beautiful day today. It's a beautiful day today. Everything is going well. Everything is fine. The universe is behind me. My angels are with me. Everything is great today. I am watching my mind constantly and looking to see if all my thoughts are positive. I'm in a state of flow. Hello, Jeff.
Hi, how are you?
I am amazing. Just finished my Farsi live.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's all good. I did some channeling there. And
Great.
it was great. Yes, I did a join live with Vida. She's also a meditation teacher. So I asked her if she channeled, and I said I got guided. Why don't we start channeling together? So it was all great. So let's get on our topic today. Is someone intentionally and purposefully ignoring you? And how do I feel when someone ignores me? Have you been ignored, Jeff?
I have. I think everybody probably has, right? At some point or another. I think
Uh-huh.
everybody has probably ignored, has been ignored. I think everybody probably has had to ignore other people. I think we all kind of go through both sides of that at some point. How about you?
Have I been ignored before? I gotta really think about that. Don't have anything right here in front of me. Not sure. I don't know, because here's the deal. This is the way I look at everything in life. I'm thinking that universe is a huge mirror, only reflecting back at me what's going on within me. So, whenever something is showing up in that picture in my outer world, I just take the picture and I sit in silence and I tune in and I say, how am I doing that? Am I ignoring myself? And I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of thinking being ignored means I am somehow ignoring myself. So, where and how am I ignoring myself? Am I giving myself the love and attention that I need? Where am I ignoring myself? Am I tired and exhausted and don't take a break or skip meals because I'm busy working, trying so hard to make a living out there? Where am I ignoring myself? So that's my thoughts on it.
Well, I think that I mean that's a very interesting perspective, and maybe you're right. Maybe it is all about you and what's going on. I have thought about it, a lot because this has happened to me a lot. This actually happened to me in a very big chunk in a very narrow window of time, and so I had to deal with it with a lot of people, and I can explain that, if I need to. And then there's a couple of people where it really mattered. There's a number of people where it didn't matter as much, and then there's a couple people where it did matter. So I look at it like you do. I kind of analyze it and I think, well, why do these people not matter so much? Why do these people matter a whole lot more? And I know that you and I talked before, and I'm a big champion of this idea that there's kind of three main attractions that we have to somebody. And when I say attraction, I don't mean necessarily romantic. I just mean like something that attracts us to another person. And I think there's three things. I think this is a very important fundamental to the entire discussion, which is either we're physically attracted to somebody on a romantic or sexual level. We are attracted to somebody because we admire them, which means we want to be near them because we can gain something from them. And the third thing is that we love to express ourselves. We love it when people listen to us. We love it when people give us space to be. And so if there's somebody who gives us a lot of space, you call them on the phone and they listen to your conversation, whatever, they don't shut you down. Hey, I got to go. They listen patiently. You're like, oh, I want to call that person again because they listen to me, right?
Like,
Now,
as you're saying this, sorry to interrupt you, as you're saying this, I was thinking about a flashback from yesterday that we were talking over the phone, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Jeff, can you hold on a second? And I was at the post office, and
yeah,
the lady was like, where is this going? Do you want a tracking number? Do you want this and this? And then you were so patiently waiting, and I left the post office and I was like, hello, are you still there? You were like, yeah, I am here.
because I was that's the thing. I think we can be a lot more patient on the phone these days because like I'm just on my computer working on something. So I'm like, I don't have another call. So I'm just like, I'm gonna work, and then as soon as she's there, she's there. It's we get a little bit, I don't want to say lazy, but we get like that rather than, hey, I'll call you back. It's like, yeah, I'll just let you do your thing here for a minute. But what's a important foundation to this feeling like you're being ignored and what's there is that in interaction with another human being is often inherently selfish. Desire of any kind is inherently selfish, right? Like, again, like I said, these three things, whether I desire that person in my life for physical attraction, romantic reason, whether I desire that person in my life because I admire who they are, and I want to be in their world, whether I desire that person in my life because they tolerate me and give me space to talk, that's all inherently selfish.
Mhm.
We don't chase people and feel all hurt for being ignored because I'm trying to give you $20. I'm ignoring you, but I'm trying to give you $20. Like, we don't feel hurt like we're like emotionally hurt because we're trying to beat somebody down to give them something with no exchange for us. So I think that's important. And I wrote down some things, that I think when we deal with this are important to look at.
Great.
So
And let's look into it. Let's
yeah,
dive in.
let's dive in, right? So the very first thing that when we're being ignored, we have to understand is that it might have nothing to do with us. It's whatever's going on with the other person. And I think a lot of self-care, self-work, personal development is understanding it may not have anything to do with you. It often has nothing to do with you. Again, and it doesn't matter what that is. Now, it may have something to do with you, right? That doesn't mean that you don't need to improve your life and improve who you are for people, but it might not. Whatever's going on in the other person's world, we often tell ourselves a story. They don't want to text us back. They don't want to answer the phone. They don't want to reply. They don't want to give us attention. What did I do? And
Mhm.
so we have to understand, like, very first thing is we have no idea what's going on in their world, in their head, in their life that's causing them to not want to communicate with us.
That's a great point, Jeff. Don't make it personal. I always say that. I said, if you stop making other people's behavior personally, that is about you, you're going to release so much anger and experiencing resentment. Just separate that. Whatever or however someone else is acting, it's not about you, it's about them and what they're going through. Is don't make their story your story in a way.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side of that, we do have to take responsibility for who we are.
Mhm.
So if you are somebody that has no self-awareness, like, right, this is where people who are self-aware may tend to tune out people who are not self-aware. So if people are not self-aware and they're talking and talking and talking and talking, and your eyes are rolling and they don't notice that your eyes are rolling, and you're like, I don't care what you're talking about, just stop. You know, the people where you are the person who's answering the phone because you're giving somebody space, and they just want to talk your ear off and talk your ear off from a very selfish place. I told you, normally when we interact with somebody, it kind of inherently comes from a selfish place. So if we're not aware of the value exchange, I get value from you, I need to bring value to you. If I'm not aware of that, and I'm always in the I'm taking from people, you're gonna get ignored. And I think it's a very important thing. So those are kind of the two sides of that same coin. It may have nothing to do with you. It may have everything to do with you. And I always want to tell people that I'm talking, I look at this in my own life. I tell people, I ask myself a very important question in every situation. Where is it, where is it my responsibility? And where is it external? And I want to look at everything within my world that I can take action on. Did I say something? Did I do something? Not, I tend to overthink things, but ideally you would not overthink it. You would
Yeah.
just give it a nice evaluation and say, who have I been? What have I been saying? How have I been behaving? What have I been doing? Can I improve that? And then you say, okay, I think I've done what I can. The rest, you got to let it go. It's on the other person at that point.
Okay, so you let's get into this a little bit more. That you're what you're saying is, even if I'm having a random conversation in someone that I'm in touch very often, and I'm always I don't know, taking their brain off, they're giving me informations, they're giving me knowledge, and I'm taking it in, but I'm not giving everything out in return to give them something that helps them in some way or how. It's going back to our conversation from the day before, the energy balance, yin and yang. I become a taker and I'm not giving anything back. And that's, I'm breaking the balance of yin and yang. So how would I, if I'm noticing that, because this is the case, right, with me, because people call me, even friends, and it's always they want my knowledge, they want to know what to do, and I'm always been giving. Now that you tell me back, I feel offended. Nobody's giving me anything. So should I ignore them then, Jeff? Is
No,
that the right approach?
no. And this is where you can take power. So let's go to the next kind of step here, because again, we've got a coin with two sides. And that is we can take self-awareness, and we can have self-awareness and take responsibility, and we can take leadership with the other, right? So these are two sides of that coin. So on one side of the coin, we have, let's take responsibility for ourselves and be authentic. And what that looks like is being very clear as early as is possible and is reasonable. Like if you're romantically interested in somebody, you might not say it as the very first thing that comes out of your mouth. But if you're waiting until days or weeks or months later, then you've been inauthentic, right? Like this is very typical where people cultivate a friendship, but it's inauthentic because one of those people wants a romantic relationship with the other, and they pretended that it was a friendship when what they really want. And then all of a sudden there's some turmoil in the friendship. And well, what I really wanted was this. And then there's a problem. So same thing with maybe business coaching, or there is that. So there is the authenticity that we can take with people as early as is possible, as early as is reasonable and tactful, of saying, you're in my life because this is what I want from you. Like, you know, you don't want to say that in a weird way, but again, just in a very, and you learn everybody's different. So there's no one way to say that. So we can take responsibility and be authentic with people. The other side of that coin is being a leader well when the other person is speaking, a leader in our listening when the other person is speaking. And there's kind of a couple things there, because number one, if somebody is talking and talking and talking, or you feel the need to ignore them, we can, if we want, we don't have to, but I try to in my life, take a leadership role and say, hey, look, when you do this, it makes me want to communicate with you less. And I've done that with a couple people, you know, because I know the pain I have felt. I'm very sensitive to being ignored. It's very painful to me to be ignored. And so I thought, well, how can if I am uncomfortable with somebody's communication, how can I do it in my eyes better or different? And so I will communicate that to somebody. Look, when you start sending me messages like this, I don't want to reply. When you start communicating more often than I want to, it makes me want to pull back. When you are this way with me, it makes me want to distance myself. And it's like, oh, okay, so I'm letting you know. I'm not just ignoring you and letting you wonder what's going on. I'm leading, and I'm saying, this is what, and that gives me the space to say, this is the way that I want to relate to you. And when it goes in all these other different directions, or you're asking for more than I can give you, my reaction is this. Rather than just showing somebody like, well, just check it out, I'm not going to reply. Check it out, I'm going to turn my back to you. I'm going to walk away. I'm going to communicate to you. And I feel like that gives the other person an opportunity to adjust their behavior. It's kind of like, it goes to the what you would do with children, which is negative reinforcement. Like when you take away a toy and you say, now you know why and then you give them an opportunity. This is like a behavioral counseling term, where you give them an opportunity for redirection. And you say, look, I'm going to give you the toy back, which in this case, the toy is our attention. I'm going to give you our attention back. I'm going to give you the toy back. Now you know why I took it away from you. This is what I need to see. And I love you and I want to be in relationship with you. And this is what I need to see in order for that to happen. And I think that if we had more of that, I'm not saying the world would instantly be a better place. I'm not saying that all of my relationships would instantly be amazing, or all of the relationships in my life would instantly be amazing. They're not. So it's easier said than done. But I think that that's something that we can do, is lead. And then one other thing is that this is more for people like you and me, because I tend to have a lot of coaches in my life, or a lot of people that pursue personal development, go to seminars, they're thought leaders, and everybody likes to give their opinion. I like to give mine. And you know, I have a very close friend, and sometimes I have to tell her, like, I just want you to listen. I don't want your coaching. I don't want your advice. I just want you to listen. I just need to get something off my chest. And she's actually learned. She's learned, and she'll ask me, like, do you want me to just listen, or do you want my coaching? So, you know, when you're in a circle of a lot of coaches, it's like, I can call friends and be like, I'm dealing with this, and everybody wants to tell me what to do. And it's like, I've got all these people telling me what to do. You know? So I think that we can also learn, and I think that John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, I think he spoke directly about this, that like a lot of time women inherently just want to be listened to and men want to fix it. So it's like, hold on a second. You know, that's something a man can do for a woman is, hey, do you just want me to listen? Or do you want me to fix it
You
or
don't
step
have
in?
to ask women, hey, you don't need to give women an option. They just want you to listen, period.
That's
They
right.
just want, as soon as you get home, they want to tell you what a horrible day they had, how many things went wrong, what did your sister do, what, and they don't want you to respond. They just want you. I have a friend, his name is Dylan. He's the one that wrote our play. Very clever, smart guy. He wrote the play that I was in. We did more than 100 performance. He was 22 years old when he wrote a 2 hours play on stage.
Mm.
And he's brilliant. Okay, funny. He has that kind of British dry sense of humor and that stuff. So one day he was sitting with me and he was editing some of my videos, and his wife called while he's editing, and I'm like, and then he cut from there, and I'm like, and then he's totally engaged with me and on the phone with his wife. Yeah, honey. Oh my God, you're right, honey. You're oh no. Oh, you're right, honey. And then when he finished the phone call, I said, oh my God, I cannot believe how clever you are. And his marriage is perfect. Like no argument and nothing. And every time we talk about something, it's like, let me ask. I'm like, do you want to do this or that or get it? Let me ask the boss. And then I said, but when are you ever going to become a boss? He said, I don't know. So far, he has this kind of light flow, funny energy about him, you know, and it's just like,
Mhm.
whenever that happens, I said, well, I have bad news for you. It's not going to happen. But that's the way it goes. You know, that's how he is.
Yeah.
Anyhow, getting back to you mentioned responsibility. Getting back
Yep.
to responsibility, as you were talking about it, I had this picture that, someone write me something and I respond back, and then they keep going and going and going. And I get to this stage because I'm dealing with so many messages. I'm bombarded with just alone like 10 people who work for me and all this stuff. So if I don't want to ignore someone and I respond to their message or their voice message, then it keeps going and going and going. Now I'm getting in a bad position to tell her, look, I don't really have this time to give you this personal attention, back and forth, back and forth. So coming back to responsibility, how much of it, if I don't want to be ignored with someone, how much of that responsibility comes back to me, that I know how am I acting and why and where my actions can lead someone to ignore me.
Well, that's kind of another one of the next points. So I had like 3 or 4 different things I wanted to
Oh,
touch on,
ahead.
and
Okay.
so that leads right into it, which is, I kind of wrote, well, I wrote and kind of write down. I wrote down, what are you standing for? But before we move on, I want to say men want to be listened to too. This
Uh-huh.
isn't just women, men want to be listened to too. Men are not always looking for somebody else to fix everything in their life. They do also just want to be listened to. But yeah, going on to the next part, as far as taking responsibility, is being very clear, I said, with your intentions with somebody, because it's all inherently selfish. And I don't mean selfish in a negative, bad way.
Yeah.
It's inherently selfish. So we have to be aware of the value exchange, and we have to ask ourselves the question and stand from a place of, what am I standing for? For example, there is a lot of coaching out there in the world that if you are young, maybe you're fresh out of college, maybe you didn't even go to college, but
Mm-hmm.
you are just dead set on working for a certain person. Let's say they're a well-known person, like they're an Instagram influencer or whatever. And I don't mean like, I'm talking like business, multi-business owner. I'm thinking like a Gary Vaynerchuk type, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the advice he gives people. It's like, you find them on Instagram, you find them on Facebook, you find them on LinkedIn, you find them and you just hound them. He talks often about his main guy, I think his name's D-Rock, okay? His like main guy is D-Rock. I think D-Rock's the guy that edits the videos, whatever. I don't know D-Rock's role, but like he tells the story often about how D-Rock hounded him multiple times a day and he just ignored him. And one day he's just like, what do you want? I want to work for you. That's what I've been telling you the whole time. He's like, all right, you work for me. You know, like, and there is something to be said for persistence. I think there is a difference for this is what I'm standing for and I'm persistent to stand for it, and just rambling. Because often, if we're not aware, we can ramble. Now, both of them can result in being ignored. But there's a difference in lack of awareness, lack of self-awareness. I'm sending you a message, you don't reply, and I just keep sending you, and I keep sending you, and I keep sending you. And there's a difference between that and saying like, I want to work for you, and you ignore it. I still want to work for you, and you ignore it. I still want to work for you, and you ignore it, right?
Yeah.
Like because that's more like short to the point, it's persistent, and I'm just like, I'm at it. I'm like, you can keep ignoring me, but I still want to work for you. I don't care if you keep ignoring me, I still want to work for you. And then day after day, week after week, month after month, I'm just constantly hitting you in your box saying, I want to work for you. But I'm being succinct, I'm being clear, I'm being authentic. I want to work for you. I'm not trying to beat around the bush. I think that often what turns people off and makes people want to ignore people is when we're inauthentic. Now, we live in Los Angeles. There's a lot of people that come here because they want something. They want to pursue something in their lives. And I've lived in LA like 20 years.
Aren't other people want to pursue something in their lives?
Well, I mean, we all do. But what I'm saying is like, I've lived in LA 20 years. And when you've lived in LA a long time, you can smell it a mile away. Somebody's nice to you. Oh, hey, you know, and they start like, oh, I'm looking for this, or, you know, I'm trying to set up this win-win scenario. And you're like, no, win-win means you want something from me. You want me to do something for you. So stop it with the win-win. Stop it with this value exchange that you think you're going to give me. There's no value exchange. You want my help. Just ask me for it. And I think that's where when people are inauthentic, they're rambling, we want to tune them out. But if they're short and to the point and they're standing, I keep using that word, they're standing for something. So it could be a job. It could be a relationship. It could be a romantic relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be your family. Like, look, like let's say you have a disconnected family and you're just like, I stand for us being a connected family. And let's say there's turmoil, nobody wants to talk, you know, sibling rivalry or parents and children. And it's like, but I'm standing for us to have a happy family or a connected family. We don't even have to be happy, but I am standing for us to be a connected family. I am standing for us to be connected friends. I am standing for a romantic relationship between us. I am standing to work for you, a professional relationship. I want you to work for me because I think you're an amazing person and I've got this business and I think you'd kill it and I think we'd kill it together. If you're standing for something, then I think you can be as persistent as you want, and it gives you a different perspective of being ignored. You're not in this powerless, well, I don't know why, you know, like, you know why. You know that there's a break in the communication and you're okay with it. You're not okay with it, but you understand it, but you're just going to stand for it. I have those relationships in my life. I've got a couple in my life that it's like, I am standing for us to be connected, reconnected, and in each other's lives. And I'm always going to stand for that. Always. No matter what. And there is not, and this is something that goes along with that. This is very important. That is, there's no right or wrong, and there might not be any agreement in the world for it. So, in a job, specifically with job and romance, because I think that like with family, we tend to give family this added value because there's a blood relationship. Like we ought to be connected. Well, why? That's just societal. That's just something that we're told and we just kind of agree to as children. We agree that, oh yeah, kids should have good relationships with their parents and kids should have good relationships with each other. And so there's kind of this inherent stand for the family to work things out. But when you look at romance and profession, there's no agreement for standing for a relationship with somebody. Because if you're like, well, I want to work for this person. Like, let's just say you wanted to work for Apple. I knew a guy that just wanted to work for Apple. He was just like, I'm going to work for Apple. I'm going to work for Apple. Well, how many people are going to tell that guy, you know what, buddy? Like, there's a million other jobs out there. Just go get a job. Shut up with Apple. Forget Apple. Just go get a job. Maybe one day you'll work there. But forget Apple. Just go get a job. There's not going to be a lot of agreement for this guy just saying, this is what I want to do. I've experienced this with myself in an entrepreneurial way. And this is where I think like surrounding yourself with very loving, supporting people is important, even though you might not get them. Like I have been pursuing an entrepreneurial path for 5 years now. I might have planted some seeds earlier than that, but I didn't jump off the cliff. I got pushed off the cliff. I got thrown off the cliff. It was actually more like an explosion that blew me off the cliff. I had no choice but to become entrepreneurial. There's not a lot of agreement in my life for this path. I have been surrounded as you struggle, because when you're an entrepreneur, you don't just fall on your feet the very first time. You often, I like how Steve Harvey says it. He said, no, you jump off the cliff, you don't fly, you fall. You hit the rocks on the way down. But one day you sprout wings and you start to level off, and then you can start to climb. That's how my journey's been. But when you're falling and you're hitting rocks, all those people in your life, they're like, what are you doing over there? You're falling. You're hitting rocks. Go get a job. Stop trying to be an entrepreneur. Stop trying to do this. Stop trying to do that. Why don't you just get realistic and practical and sensible? They don't understand because they have a different level of security and safety than you do. So there might not be any agreement, and especially romantically. Oh, you like that guy, you like that girl, like forget about them. They don't want to be in a relationship with you. Forget about it. There's, billions of people in the world. Why are you stuck on this person? Forget it. If they're ignoring you, they're treating you like garbage. Forget them. They have no respect for you. Go find somebody else. You're like, well then, but I like this person, or, whatever. So you have to understand that if you're going to be persistent, you're not right or wrong. Nobody's right or wrong, but there might not be any agreement for what you're standing for. You just have to do it for your own reasons, and hopefully have a couple people in your life, or one, that will tolerate you in your stand. Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. So when it comes to, because I'm facing a lot of, how can I put it? I'm facing a lot of outer issues. That's how the majority of people are seeing that this is happening, and this person is when you notice something as energy, we're talking about, our topic is about being ignored. And I'm seeing that I'm becoming ignored here, and then I'm seeing it in a relationship. It's the same energy. What I want us to pay attention to is, once the energy is built and is a stock, it keeps circulating. So you're going to see that your boyfriend or your girlfriend is ignoring you. Next, you're going to see that you're losing your job, and you keep going, and different people are not responding back to you. They don't want to give you the job, and they're going to say no to you, because there's still the same energy of being ignored. We see that a lot with in girlfriend boyfriend
Hmm.
relationships, for female, when you get rejected or when you get um, ignored, they think they have to push harder, they have to get move in. Same thing with guys. I mean, for me, generally, my experience has been whenever I have ignored a guy, he's pushing harder and he's following up. And I ignore him again and then he push harder. So it's the same thing. I was doing a session with someone yesterday, and a couple of weeks ago, she has often sessions with me, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Few weeks ago, she was so high. She was in love with this guy, and she's in US, and the guy is in Germany. And she's like, I don't know. You know, when you fall in love, those hormones in your brain, the dopamine and the serotonin, everything was perfect about this guy. Oh my God, he never studied anything. He hasn't been a psychologist or anything, but he talks like that. He sure thinks like that. And I'm picking up this guy's energy, and I'm like, uh-huh, okay, uh-huh. So she's like, she says, what do you think? I said, I think you should cool off and give him some time. 2 days ago, she called me harassingly, and she's really pissed off because they're having a phone conversation, and she has her lunch break. She's eating her meal while they're talking, and he said, would you stop chewing on that food and making all that food noises and that stuff? You're really on my nerve. And then she gets shocked, you know? And then a couple of texts back, and she said, I left the group, I left him, and I said, I don't think this relationship is working. So she contacted me, and then a couple of days later, she's tickling a little. I said, be happy that he showed his side much sooner than later, because I could see how it would have been if you would go to Germany, and the first thing, because I know she's very conscious about her body and everything, I said, I bet you the first thing he would have done, take a look at your body and give you that feeling of unapproval, and then he would ignore you then. So be happy. He reacted much faster. And I said, I knew that, but you were so high that you were like, oh, he's the perfect match, and I can't wait to get my first vacation and go to. So what I'm saying is, after a couple of days, she's like, maybe I reacted too fast. Maybe I shouldn't have sent out that message. Maybe, what do you think if I should? I said, stop, stop. Once someone ignored you, now you tune in to your lack of self-love, self-respect, and you set up, you don't have any boundaries. Don't ever break down your boundaries. If somebody is ignoring you, is one meaning: I am not interested in you. Period. Why would you want to follow? Why would you want to sit in your head and say, maybe I was wrong, maybe I reacted too fast, I said, look, if somebody wants you, they come after you. They will communicate with you. If they're not coming after you, if they're not communicating with you, if 2 or 3 days passes as you cool off, and now you want to trick yourself that, oh my God, I was so high. I said, you're missing that release of hormone. It's not about him. It's about that chemical is not releasing any longer. And now you're fooling yourself by making up different scenarios that to takes him back. Don't do it. And how often do we do that? Once someone ignores us, pay attention. When I
Well,
don't respond back to someone, that means I'm not interested in you. I could be busy for a day or two, but if you keep hunting and if you keep coming back, each time you do that, you get more and more on my nerves, and the more I push you and I don't respond back to you.
well, so with everything that we've said, like kind of before,
Mm-hmm.
that to me is kind of one segment. When we move into this, it's a different world, because at this point there are a couple of things that are going on. Now, one is why we're chasing this person and what we could do to get that person to chase us. And then the second thing is, and this is true again for romantic, especially where we encounter it a lot. It's kind of hard professionally to get somebody to chase us, but it's the same psychology, and you can do it. And the the other aspect is, well, like you have said from the beginning, what's going on with us. So I'm going to take this back to these kind of three categories that I have been really championing this, like physical desire,
Mm-hmm.
this admiration, and this kind of space for us to express ourselves. So I would say that let's look at the admiration category, because that's where a lot of this happens.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, if we're pursuing somebody romantically or professionally, it's because there is a huge amount, or significant to us. I'm not saying it's significant in the world. It's significant to us personally, of admiration for that person or that business. I really want to be in that person's life. I love who that person is. I really want to work at that company. I love what that company does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If they're not chasing us back, what that typically means is they don't have admiration for us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the challenge. This is the challenge. This is literally like the secret in life, is how can you pursue how can you be the pursuer
Mm-hmm.
but gain admiration? This literally is the secret. I mean, if you think about it, think about
So
an
how do you do
animal.
it? Bring it more into
So,
physicality. Yeah.
well, let's look at an example. It's like in an animal kingdom, you might have a male animal like a bird that's like, well, a male bird's got to go chase the female birds, but I'm going to go into the center of all the female birds and I'm going to sing, or I'm going to spread my feathers or whatever. So there's this, I'm going to run out into the center. I have to pursue, but I've got to show off. And hopefully I'll show off enough to gain enough admiration that one or two or however many of the females will say, yeah, sure, you're good enough. You can come mate with me. Now, in a more complex system, that's what we're doing. So if we want, let's go professional first. It's like, what do you think that we need to accomplish in like an interview? Or if we're just going to communicate privately with somebody, we have to state that intention and say, hey, we're pursuing you. We want to work at your company. I want to work for you. But you're going to say, well, this is the job that I want. And you're going to start like throwing, let's say you're a web designer. This would make it kind of an easier example. If you design websites, you're going to say, well, look, here's a website I designed. Look, here's a website I designed. Look at this project I was a part of. Look at that project I was a part of, right? So you're constantly throwing your examples of your work at this person or this business, saying, I want to work at your company because I love your company. I have all this admiration for your company. So I desire something for you. Now, I want to bring value to you too. So look at all these things I've done. And maybe, even though they're ignoring you, they might be clicking those links, looking at those websites that you designed, and then say, oh, okay, like this person's cool. Let's say hello to them and bring them in for an interview and talk further. Romantically, it's a bit tougher because men and women have different attraction switches. And so if you're a man, admiration is very big to attract a woman. It's very, very big. And so you have to pursue the woman, but you have to constantly be like showing her things that could get her to admire you. Like, hey, look, I've accomplished this in my life. Or, I mean, this is kind of the root, while men kind of get a little, while men are typically not very good at it, this is kind of the root of why a man might go up to a woman and say, this is how much money I make, or I own a car. And it sounds like the guy's bragging, right? Like men are always trying to show off, because what he's trying to do in this kind of stereotypical interaction is gain her admiration. I'm interested in you. Now let me try to gain your admiration and let me show off all these things. Even if there are different methods that work better, ultimately it's trying to like get her attention and then lead to say, hey, look, follow me, admire my lifestyle. Ultimately, admire me and my lifestyle. Let me show you pictures of these trips I'm taking. Let me show you these friends that I'm hanging out with, these places I'm going, these things I'm doing. Show you the kind of person I can be. And that, it's a challenge, but that's kind of where it is. It's like, and then if you do pursue more, the more you pursue and the other person is ignoring you, it does feel like that admiration for you is going to keep dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping, which is why I said you have to be very clear. What are you standing for? And there might be no agreement. Because you might say, hey, look, I think this person's wonderful and I'm standing for some sort of friendship or relationship with that person. And even if they've kind of like ignored me for a long time and maybe they have no admiration, that doesn't mean that you can't grow, and they might grow, and one day you can be in each other's lives.
So basically, do you have a solution how to turn that around? If someone is not interested in you, do you have, you
No,
said, okay.
no. I mean, I think that like the one thing that I have not been willing to do, and there is advice out there to do this, is to um, ignore other people. So like I said, I went through like this very short period where I lost a lot of people in my life, and there's a few that matter. There's a few that really matter. And for me to then kind of turn around from a very negative space, try to inflict pain through jealousy or whatever it is, of like, well, I can ignore you too. Check it out. I can play that game too. I can ignore you. I can make you jealous and make you envious of my life. I don't like that energy around that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's effective. It is incredibly effective. And I don't like the energy around it, because if that's what you have to do, then you're really setting this foundation that if the person does respond, it's always in this negative energy foundation. Well, you were ignoring me and I had to use jealousy and ignoring you to get you to chase me. And what's going to happen is, because that's your foundation, well, now you're chasing me. Okay, cool. I got you to chase me. Well, now let me turn around. Well, now you're running away. Okay, well, now let me ignore you. Okay. And you're constantly doing this to each other. You're never
Yeah,
actually
well, here's
here.
the deal. First of all, if I'm not interested in someone, I'm not interested, period. It doesn't matter what they do and how they act, or who they go with or whatever. I'm not interested. If I'm interested in someone, I'm in that relationship. If I'm not, I'm not going to get into that games of, oh, he's going to go with a better girl, or this girl, or what is he doing, or blah, blah, blah. So it's just a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of waste of time, and it's a game that is not, it's very childish. I don't think that's the approach, and I don't think it's going to work always,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're getting into a foolish game, the result is going to end up to be foolish. You can
Yep.
have this person getting jealous, but here's the deal. At the end, I'm thinking to myself, do I want someone in my life that is going to walk away from me and ignore me? And then I have to do something. I have to show up with a better looking guy, or do this or that to
Mm-hmm.
get here. Do I want this person in the first place, or do I want somebody who's emotionally balanced, right? So that's the first thing. I don't know. I don't recommend it. I don't think it works. And if it works, it's not going to work for the long time. And yet it's not going to be someone that you want to be spending your energy and time on. That's about this. The second thing is, if somebody ignores me and walks away from me, I don't think I should waste time and energy to reverse the situation, go study or get a coach or listen to this or that. How can I get him back that now he's chasing me? It's a waste of time. If somebody doesn't want you, don't fool yourself. If they walk away, they made a decision. But if you don't have enough self-love, self-respect for yourself, you're going to start wasting your time and energy to get someone who rejected you and say, I don't want you for whatever reason, and waste your time to get this. Why don't you just let them go and start fresh with somebody who's going to be in your level, somebody that you really want, somebody who's committed, somebody who is mentally and emotionally balanced. What I see a lot, and I'm even thinking about doing another webinar about it, how to become emotionally balanced, because I'm a coach. All day long I'm doing sessions after session for years and years and years, and what I'm seeing is a majority of human being, it doesn't matter if they're 5-year-old, if they're 85-year-old, they're not emotionally balanced. People are confused. They're confused. They're confused when they get hurt very easily. They said, I'm very sensitive. Well, let's open up sensitivity. What does it mean really when I say I'm sensitive? I think people are mistaking being sensitive by being emotionally imbalanced. That means whatever someone else is doing, I'm getting affected by them, and then they call themselves being sensitive human being. That's not what it is. Wake up, guys. A lot of guys today, we talked about this the other week, and a couple of days ago, that a lot of men are coming and testing out their feminine energy. There is nothing wrong with that. But if you're emotionally imbalanced and if you haven't grown up, you get hurt by everything. You overanalyze everything. You get hurt very quickly and you call that your feminine energy. No, I'm sorry, that's not feminine energy. That means you need to grow up. You haven't emotionally grown up. So there's a difference between these two, and I hope we understand the difference. Now, Arsalan sent a question in. His question is, he's been in this relationship with this girl, and they broke up or after a while, and he went after her, and finally she responded back after ignoring her. She came back. Now it got to the point that she always wants his attention and she always wants to talk. Now he doesn't want to talk because he's probably taking too much of his time, and she wants a lot of attention that he cannot give her. So he's asking this question, what should I do now? Because I want to communicate with other people, but she's constantly on my back and she's being needy and she wants to. Thank you, Isabel. Yes, we need to grow up. Mm-hmm. Isabel, you're saying I'm sensitive too. Please be aware. What do you mean exactly that you're being sensitive? A lot of people call themselves being sensitive. They don't read energies. They don't read anyone else's energy, right? So what does it mean? When you say I'm sensitive, that means you're sensitive to everything. You're sensitive to the change of the temperature of the air. You're sensitive to the sound that you're hearing. Your antennas are all open. You're sensitive. You're hearing, feeling everything, right? Opening up another one here, make sure your sensitivity is not equal with emotionally imbalanced, being emotionally imbalanced. There's a code there. So What do you think about Arsalan's question? What would be your response?
I think that everything I said and like that we talked about in the first half, in the first 30 minutes,
Mhm.
where we were just pretty clear about some points, comes into this because I said that, it's like there's often, it's not going on with you, it's going on with them. You can take responsibility for yourself. You can lead with the other person. So to me, if that occurred in my life where somebody was ignoring me and
Thank you, Isabel. Mhm.
and I'm standing for a relationship with that person, and then I finally say, you know what, forget it. And then all of a sudden that person gets that energy and they're like, but wait a minute, I want that energy, I want that attention you were giving me, that effort that you were giving me, and it's gone. Okay, well, that's the problem, is that the person has a problem with craving that attention and effort. They don't actually want to give you that themselves and be in a relationship with you. They're just addicted to that chase, which, there are men and women out there that they're addicted to that chase. They're addicted to people trying to get their attention. That's not with you, that's with them. So you can be a leader and you can be kind or unkind. That's up to you, and say, okay, look, this is how you're being. And now you have the power. You have the power to say, I'm going to put the boundaries down. I'm going to set the framework for our relatedness, because I was pursuing you. You wanted nothing to do with it, but now I've backed off and you've turned around. That's unhealthy. That's not a solid foundation to us to relate on. So either I don't want you in my life and I have found the strength to ignore you and tell you that, or say, look, we can be in each other's life. This game doesn't exist. So I'm going to give you 3 strikes or 2 or 1 and say, I'll give you my attention, and you get me. And if you turn around and start to ignore me, it's over. And I think that if you can
Yeah,
have that power
okay.
and set that
So
boundary
let
and be
me give
strong.
him my answer, because there's a 3-part to this. First, he chased her, then she chased him back, and now he's tired of her wanting so much attention. I think that you have to be very authentic, not just with her, but with anyone. So basically, you need to tell her, look, you're demanding too much attention from me right now. And for whatever reason, whether it's my job or whatever, I cannot give you all that time and attention that you're requiring. Now you can make a choice if you want to continue being a friend with me, or you can move on. But at this point, I cannot give you as much attention. Plus, you are not the center of my attention. I want to be still communicating with other people. I want to have some time with my friends, going out and doing other things. So this is where I am right now. Always try to be authentic and say the truth. We're moving on to Luna, underline 77. She said, is it possible to be highly sensitive and highly unbalanced? Absolutely yes. That's why, Luna, I brought this up, because I'm seeing a lot of people being emotionally imbalanced by calling it, I am very sensitive. Okay. So what I'm saying is, I'm seeing a lot of people. Let me put it this way. I give you a scenario so you can really tune in and see what I'm saying. You're welcome, Arsalan. You're more than welcome. Send in your questions, guys. Send in your comments. That's why we're here, to answer your questions and respond to your comments. So here's the deal. When I'm emotionally imbalanced, I'm still into the energy of the past. I'm still feeling in my feeling body what happened to me when I was 2 years old, what happened to me when I was 5 year old, what happened to me, my dad did this and that when I was 7 year old, right? I have not dealt, or I didn't get help to deal with those traumas or emotions in my childhood. I'm still carrying it on and on and on. Now I'm 40 years old, I'm 50 years old, and I'm still in the same trauma or the energy or being extremely sensitive to that trauma. Okay, so that means you haven't let go of the past, you haven't forgiven the past, and you haven't released the past. You're still living that trauma every day. Now, you're dealing with everyone, whether it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your parents, your boss, or whatever, whoever it is around you, and every little things that they do, it hurts you. And then you say, I'm very sensitive. That hurts me. Oh, this person is doing it. This person is ignoring me. If somebody is ignoring you, what does it mean? That means that you haven't set up boundaries for yourself and you didn't have enough self-respect to keep your boundaries. Nobody from outside is doing anything to you. You're doing it to yourself. I have always had this issue since I was a little kid. I demand other people's respect. Since I demand other people's respect, I was extremely responsible for my every action. So I would not give permission or put myself in any situation that someone else can speak down to me or ignore me or be rude to me. That's why I never, when Jeff asked me, have you ever been ignored? I have to really think about it. No, I haven't had any experience like that. Why? Because I was extremely responsible for my action. I'm very mindful in every interaction. Where am I putting myself? How is that going to get back to me? Am I being respectful to myself? Right? Okay. So basically what I'm saying here, you're not sensitive. You haven't forgiven your past. You haven't dealt with your past. You're still with the same energy of sorrow, of victim, and then you're calling yourself sensitive. Grow up. Yeah. So I really think I should do a webinar, guys, on how to become emotionally balanced and grow up. I was doing a session with this girl the other day, and she said, oh, I did that exercise that you said we go within and we connect with our inner child. And while I did that, I got even more upset. She told me this and that, and I showed this and that, and I was really pissed off. I was even more upset than before I went to meet and connect with my inner child. So this is what I responded back to her. I said, when you went to connect with your inner child, you're welcome, Isabel. You're welcome, my love. I said, who went to visit the inner child? Was it your grown-up or was it the child? She said, oh, I don't know. I said, well, it's very obvious. It wasn't the mature growing up. You're supposed to be the grown up, the parents. So you as a kid went to visit another kid and you both got into a fight and argument. You beat up each other and you came back being even more upset. You see what I'm saying? Because she's not emotionally grown up. So she's taking this, she's still that little child, the 5-year-old who was hurt or injured, and she hasn't dealt with that. And this is what I'm seeing every single day, dealing with people that they claim I'm very sensitive. No, you're not sensitive. You're not emotionally balanced. You haven't grown up. You didn't let yourself or teach yourself or help yourself to grow up. Do you want to add something here, Jeff?
I don't want to. I don't know that I want to add anything to the sensitivity and the balance, but I do just want to add some perspective to some of the stuff that we've talked about. And, because I've seen this in some of the comments, and, I'm in a number of groups like on Facebook where they're like dating groups and relationship groups. And this can happen in, like I said, it's often in work and in romance. It can happen in your family. It definitely can happen in your family, and it can happen in your friendships as well. But we tend to witness this the most in romance and then in profession. And that is, I am very careful to false confidence and false braggadociousness and false bravado. And so what I tend to see, whether I've seen some on this, and I see it all the time in the dating groups and Facebook, is when there's a rejection, people tend to adopt yeah, like I could see when it was like, well, forget that person and forget that they need to fight for you. And like people tend to try to adopt this way of being of like, yeah, my value's super high and people need to fight for me. And if they're not going to fight for me, then screw them, their loss. And it's almost this pride and this arrogance that people take to their interactions with people. This is what I said when there's like not a lot of I said before, there might be no agreement in the world for your stand. I really want to work at this company. I really want to have a relationship with this person because I just think they're wonderful. Nobody's going to agree with you. Go get a job. If they really wanted you, they'd hire you. Go forget that guy or that girl. If they really wanted to be in a relationship with you, they'd chase you, right? Yeah, that's right. And everybody agreed. There's a lot of agreement for that. That's right. You need to have more value. You need to have more self-confidence and more self-worth, and screw those other people, screw that business. And I think that there is a right way to stand for something and a wrong way to stand for something. And a lot of what you said, I agree with, which is the wrong way to stand for something, which is you have a low self-worth, you don't value yourself, you don't have boundaries, you let people push you around, you're constantly seeking approval, you're constantly seeking attention, you are unhealthy, you are imbalanced. And I agree with you 100% that that's unhealthy. And if that other person or that business, if that business hires you, guess what? You are going to have a terrible time working at that company because they're going to just be overworking you. They're going to be loading too much work on your shoulders, having you spinning all these different plates. And you're like, man, I really wanted to work here, but this is a miserable experience. Similar if you were to end up in a romantic relationship with somebody and you're just like, I'm just happy that you're giving me attention. I'm just happy to finally have it. Then it's going to be miserable for you because they're going to have no respect for you and they're going to just treat you like garbage. That doesn't mean you can't stand for that job at that company or that relationship with that person. You can. You have to understand everything that we've talked about, that you seek emotional balance, that you heal your traumas from your childhood and from your past, that you have boundaries, you have self-worth, you have value, and you're not waiting around hoping and happy to get whatever crumbs the person or the business may throw your way. You are going to have that self-worth, you're going to have that self-value, you're going to go pursue other people, other jobs, other endeavors. You can still stand for that thing to work out between the, like that, again, the career you want, the endeavors you're pursuing, the profession you want, the job you want, and those personal relationships that you want. You can have both. And when you do that, if you're like, I'm very clear about that. And I'm very clear because it's that clarity that gives me my self-worth. It's that clarity that gives me my constitution in the world to say, look, yeah, I totally think this person's wonderful and I totally want a relationship with them, whatever that looks like. I'm not going to be their little, you know what, like, I'm not going to sit here and just take whatever crumbs they give me and be like, oh, thank you so much. No, like, but I'm always going to stand for it. I'm going to go out there. I have my family. I have my friends. I'm going to date who I date. I'm always going to leave that option, that possibility available. And I'm always going to stand for that possibility. And it doesn't matter. And again, there's a few people in my life where that's there, and it's always going to exist. And it doesn't, whether anybody agrees with it or not, if people think you're a stupid person or whatever, I don't really care what anyone thinks. It doesn't define me. It's just the life that I choose to live.
Right. Let me respond to Arsalan's
Mm-hmm.
very good question, Arsalan. Keep it coming. You asked very key question. If there is someone's rude and bossy behavior and you have to tolerate it because of XYZ reason, is it going to affect you in a long run? Yes, absolutely yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first of all, the first question is, why, who is the one who's putting him or herself in a place that has to tolerate something? Look at the energy of tolerate. Tolerate means I'm not the boss, is not the high energy, is the low energy. Let's go back to what I said a few minutes ago. I said I always demand respect. Because of that, I'm super responsible, super conscious of my behavior. Meaning, when I'm working, I'm giving 120% of myself. So I'm not going to leave any place that anyone is going to have to come back to me and say, look, you didn't do this right, or you don't. In my profession, I'm dealing with, I have around like 10 assistants working for me, right? And I'm dealing with a lot of clients, lot of sessions all day long. My profession is dealing with people. At every interaction that I do, I make sure when I'm dealing with a client, when I'm doing a session, that I'm giving 110%. And I don't leave any space for someone to come back and say, hey, by the way, I wasn't happy about my session, or it was something wrong with this. But I deal with supplements, patches, blah, blah. Every and each time we get an email, like a click that some client has purchased something, by next day that purchase is shipped plus a gift, just to show them thank you so much, a crystal or a business card or something, efficiently. So I get so often respond like, oh, it was so great, you responded back right away, I received my package right away. This is what I mean. I'm taking 100% responsibility to do everything right, so I don't leave any place for someone to be or do something. Now, nobody is putting you in a place that you have to tolerate some behavior. It's you who is allowing a behavior. Okay, don't ever forget that. And if you set your boundaries, you have some rules, and you really know honest truth that from your side, you're doing everything right, you're behaving right, your actions, your thoughts, your emotion, even your intention behind it is right, then why do you have to be in a place to tolerate anything? You know what I mean? Hello, talking about sensitivity nowadays. I am more sensitive than ever. I hear, smell, even taste. I am only curious about the reason. It's not just you, honey. The energy, I talk about this also a lot. The energy of planet Earth is changing. Okay. So that means this fast energy, and I talk about astrology this past couple of days. There are a lot happening. Like we know, it's a Taurus month, and Taurus month is about love and affection, your worthiness, your productions, money, building, all of this is in Taurus. Venus is the planet of love, self-worth, and all that. Right now, Pluto and Uranus are very active, and I talked about this. Right now, Uranus and Pluto are forcing us into many, many, many changes, unpredictability. Things are happening very fast and very quick, and you have to be super aware, super sensitive about what's going on around you. And you have to be vulnerable. You have to be able to flow with the energy. And as one change comes, you have to adopt yourself and just move on and be ready for the next change and next change. So this requires a lot of consciousness, and the planet Earth is also helping us to use our six senses and become better at it. So congratulations, because right now you see yourself in a place that, oh, I'm feeling, I'm hearing, I'm sensing more, right? And you take your life more consciously. It's 111, guys. 111. Everybody concentrate. Portal is open to heaven. What do you want to create, guys? You're the creator of your life. What do you wish happen? What would you like to happen? And what else? Hey guys, I have to apologize. I have to end this live because I have a couple of sessions lined up. Jeff, would you like to say anything before we say goodbye?
No, I liked what we covered, and I think that, just to kind of wrap it up, just understand, like, whatever, I'd like to repeat, like, it's not you. Take responsibility where you can take responsibility, and then beyond that, it's not you, it's over on their side. And I do believe that you can, as I've said the whole time, you can develop and cultivate that self-worth, get that emotional balancing, deal with those past traumas, live that life of abundance that's out there, and you can still stand for whatever you want to stand for. There might not be any agreement for it. Nobody's right or wrong. This is all your experience of life and the life that you want to live.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, guys, we're going to end this live. Thank you, Jeff, for being here. We're going to do another join live soon. We're going to set it up, and I see you very soon in a couple of days. Thanks
Thank you,
for being
Sudi.
here. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, guys, thank you for all being here. If we don't get to respond back to your comments, keep your comments coming. You can ask your questions. Do not forget to like, share, and write comments, guys. Also, for anyone who is signing up on my English YouTube channel, Sudi Burnett English, you will get a gift from me. It could be a CD, it could be a DVD, or it could be a file. So don't forget to subscribe on my YouTube channel, Sudi Burnett English. Like, share, and comment. And I see you very, very soon in a couple of days. Thank you so much for being with me on this journey. Love and blessing. See you soon. Bye bye.